All right, so I want to make this video on the fruits. So we know that the fruits of the spirit, there are 9 of them, and essentially, which is like somewhat of a confession, but so I only ones that I usually just pay attention. I used to pay attention to was patience, and love, and peace, and self-control. Those are the main fruits that I was. Faith also. So those, but the goodness and the kindness and joy, more specifically, was the one that I kind of just brushed aside, never really acknowledged it. And then I started to realize something. I started to realize that the absence of these fruits are apparent in your life. And more specifically is this: I lived a lot of my life complaining. Even if I thought it was justified, I just complained, and I could justify why. And many people would agree with why I'm complaining. Oh, that's a justifiable reason. Only problem is, when you complain, you lose your joy. So when God talks about you will know them by their fruit, and more importantly, when he says you must produce good fruit, like, a lot of people don't realize that when you decide to complain, you are substituting your fruit for bad fruit. You're having your fruit stolen when you decide to live a life complaining. And even you could take this back to the Jews when they were in the wilderness. They complained. There is a punishment for that. Complaining doesn't do you any justice. You lose a fruit of the Spirit. You lose your joy. So if you want to keep your joy, the trick to this puzzle is not to complain. Revelation was a big one. And a lot of people, the enemy doesn't want you to know this. But once you get rid of complaining, you get to find joy. And that's a fruit. And you get to hold on to that joy. And you can't have the enemy stealing that. And every single fruit is the same concept. Complaining steals the joy. So when you complain, you lose your joy. And the same thing for love, the same thing for peace, the same thing for patience, the same thing for all of these fruits can be stolen, depending on your life and the life you choose to live. And why is the enemy after your joy? Because when he goes after your joy, he then opens you up to offense. And offense then leads to you going back to coping mechanisms. It leads you back to Egypt. It leads you back to the old mindset. And and ultimately then leads to sin, and then sin leads to separation from God, and which ultimately leads to death. So we have to pay attention. He's sly and crafty, and only recently I just got this revelation, and I can be honest and transparent, acknowledging the fact that I've still not gotten to a point where I'm able to say I am now free of complaining, but only now I'm starting to mature enough to understand the impact it has and how important it is to not complain, hold my tongue. And I just hope that this video makes impact on someone's life, where they understand how their negative actions can affect themselves spiritually. Every time you choose a negative action, there is a reaction, and something's happening spiritually, and you may not just be aware of it, but trust and believe there's something happening adversely to you by you making that choice to argue, by you making that choice to complain, for you even trying to justify for you to play victim. All of these things are open doors, and it gives darkness a way in. to your life. And as long as you have a mindset mentality where complaining is your portion, you will always be stuck. You'll never get to where you need to be in your walk with God, because the enemy will always has a way. The enemy will always have a way to keep you slowed down, keep you away from getting to where you need to be. So it's imperative that we tap in with the Spirit of God and get the tools to just better your perspective, so that you can see why complaining, why you do complain, and just have it uprooted, have it spiritually uprooted, so that you can and it may feel unnatural to not complain at the beginning stages, but as you start to as your love for the cross and your walk becomes and it increases, you start to realize that the impact on your life and where you want to be long term, this short term uncomfortableness is okay, you know. So hopefully this video makes sense to someone, and yeah, see you in the next one. God bless.